Perform the indicated operation by hand, then use your calculator to check your work. So our first problem we can see is going to be a multiplication problem because those two parentheses are jammed up right next to each other with no other operation sign showing. So we know that that's going to be multiplication. And we also know that when we multiply a negative times a negative, we're going to end up with a positive result. So we know that our answer is going to be positive, so I want to just keep track of that positive down there. And now let's go ahead and multiply the fractions out. So we have the fraction 10 over 9, and that's going to be multiplied to the fraction 12 over 25. Now before we start multiplying, we want to be looking for common factors. We want to try to do some simplifying here before we actually do the multiplication to keep our numbers smaller. So with the 10 and the 25, if we look at those numbers, we can say, well, there's a common factor of 5. That's the greatest common factor for 10 and for 25. So we're going to write 10 as 5 times 2, and we're going to write 25 as 5 times 5. And we're going to cancel out those 5s because 5 over 5 equals 1. Now with the 9 and the 12, we'll do something similar. Greatest common factor of 9 and 12 is 3. So 9 I'm going to write as 3 times 3, and 12 I'm going to write as 3 times 4, showing that greatest common factor, so I can cancel out those 3's. Now we just multiply whatever's left. 2 times 4 is going to give me my new numerator of 8, and 3 times 5 is going to give me my new denominator of 15. And remember we had said that our final answer was going to have to be positive because we were multiplying two negatives. So we can write our final answer just as 8 over 15. Now the second problem, we have subtraction going on, and we know it's not multiplying because the subtraction sign is in between the parentheses. So if we're going to subtract, we're going to have to find an LCD whenever we add or subtract fractions. So for these two denominators, the 8 and the 12, the LCD is 24. So let's go ahead and build to the common denominator. So negative 7/8, we're going to have to multiply that by 3 over 3 because 8 times 3 is going to give me the 24 denominator. And if I multiply the denominator, the numerator has to get multiplied as well. Now we're going to subtract. My second fraction was 11 over 12. And this one's going to have to get multiplied by 2 over 2 to give me that right denominator. 12 times 2 is 24. Now when we do the multiplication to get the common denominator, we have negative 21 over 24 minus, in my second fraction here, we have 11 times 2 is 22 over 24. And now that we've got that common denominator, I know that's going to be the denominator when I do the subtraction, and I do the subtraction to the numerators. So we have negative 21 minus 22, well that's the same thing as like saying negative 21 plus a negative 22, that idea of adding the opposite. So that would give us a negative 43. And we would write our final answer with the negative sign out front, 43 over 24. Okay, so there's our answer. So let's pull up our calculator to check our work on these two problems. For our first problem, we had negative 9/10 times negative 12/25. So we're going to use the negative sign down here to show the negative fractions. Negative 10, fraction key 9. It's going to be multiplied by negative 12, fraction key 25. When we press enter, there's the 8/15, just like we were expecting. Now for our second problem, to check that, we're going to do subtraction. So when we enter negative 7/8, we're going to use the negative sign down here, negative 7, fraction key 8. And then when we subtract, we need to use this sign here, subtract 11, fraction key 12. And when we press enter, we're saying, well, wait, but that's a mixed number. I wanted an improper fraction. Remember, our calculator will do that for us. If we press second and press the fraction key again, it will change between mixed numbers and improper fractions. If I press enter, there's my negative 43/24, just like I was hoping to see.